Listen to the Prime Minister today. The government's obsessed with the opposition and the opposition's obsessed with the government. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, I think Tony Abbott ought to open up a bit. I think his staff's restricted him far too much, and he ought to open up, and he should allow his front benches to open up much more. I mean, Tony Abbott does media interviews, and he does well. He doesn't need to be protected.
He does very selected media interviews.
He does media interviews with any radio station with a 2 in front of it.
No. Tony Abbott was a senior minister in the Howard government for a long time and didn't make many mistakes. He doesn't need this kind of protection that he's getting from his staff.
Well, then why is it afforded to him? Why doesn't he do long-form interviews apart from those friendly radio stations?
Well, he does some.
No, he doesn't.
He can do more.
No, I think he's done one this year.
He hasn't been on the 7:30.
Well, he's been on Insiders, has he?
Once.
Oh, once this year. The Prime Minister's been on twice. I mean, that's...
Yeah, but then 7:30 reported one interview out in the desert was specifically about Aboriginal affairs, and I don't think he's done late night for about 18 months.
Well, it depends who he's rolling up with. I mean, Tony Abbott was badly advised by his staff before the last election to do 3 interviews with Kerry O'Brien, particularly the one on communications. O'Brien was hostile. He wasn't well informed. O'Brien was actually running off briefings that he'd got from the Labor Party, which was evident on the people he quoted in the interview. Now, I don't think you have to do everything, but you can do something selectively, and I mean, you ought to come on Insiders again. There you go.
I'm pleased to see you agree with me in the end. The point here is that we've got an alternate Prime Minister who's afraid to say boo. I mean, he's not afraid to scare, but he is afraid of a counter-scare. So I think the conversation's been crippled now for about 3 years in public life.
But
and the sooner one of the leaders breaks out of this,
on work
I think
choices,
the better for the
there
population.
is not a lot that Tony Abbott ever wanted to say. Now, his colleagues may convince him that he should, and I think he should, but you can't say he's walking away from a conviction because he never had the conviction. It's pointed out in the... I think it was in Peter Hartch's book, that Tony Abbott and Mr Andrews were never particularly keen on work choices. That drive came from John Howard and Peter Costello and others.
Well, Nick Minchin said he wasn't a great driver of it either.
Well, hang on just a sec.
We'll just disappear down another rabbit hole.
Nick Minchin had a huge row with John Howard because Nick Minchin gave a speech to the H.R. Nichols Society during the Howard government time where he said that work choices should be tougher. And John Howard disliked that and dressed him down for it privately, and the idea that Senator Minchin is now saying... Well, all you have to do is go and hear what he said at the H.R. Nichols Society because it was recorded. I mean, it's all there.
I think one word of congratulations to the Liberal Party at this point, and that is that they had we know about this stuff, like they had a vote for the presidency. Yeah. It was a proper vote. People didn't know how it was going to turn up. There was an element of marvellous drama when Tony Abbott was showing his vote to Ellen Stockdale, which is great for TV. I thought it was, for all its messiness, that's a political party that's coming to a decision in a sincere way.
And there are some reforms...
You don't get that so much there.
There are some reforms of the Howard government that this government's got no intention of overturning, such as the very successful reform on the Australian waterfront, which was decades coming. Peter Reith brought it in. He was knocked back a bit by the federal court, but it worked.